So hey guys, I can't see you and you can see me, so I hope that you're here. It looks like we have a great group so far this morning. Welcome to my kitchen. My name is Sarah Copeland. I'm the author of 4 cookbooks. Everyday Saturday is my most recent one, which you probably saw on the Field and Supply website. This book came out a year ago and it's super great for summer especially. There's amazing recipes in it all the way around, but a lot of people called it their summer Bible in the New York Times, and so many other great press said that they loved the book and that it was a go-to. So today I'm going to be teaching you grazing platters, which is a huge part of the way I operate here at home. We live in upstate New York, so if you were present at Field and Supply in the flesh, it's just about 15 minutes away from where we live. We live in a tiny village between Kingston and Accord. And we love it up here. We moved up from the city about 5 years ago full time after spending tons of weekends here. So I have a little chat box here where I can see you guys. Hi guys. Oh hey, thank you. Hi Brad. So I'm going to be chatting with you guys. I'm going to check in with that once in a while, but I'll also be taking questions at the end. We're going to have about a half an hour together. And at the end, I'll be sure to answer all your questions that I may have missed because I want to get through a lot and show you a lot here. So I'll be popping in there from time to time because there's no like hand raising. I can't see you guys. So this is what I call the grazing platters chapter of my book. A lot of people call them cheese boards. I have a lot of them in my book because this is the way that I love to entertain my family. I do one where it's just, you know, fabulous spread of beautiful breads and heirloom tomatoes and homemade mayos and herbs and things like that. I have one that's like a everything lox lunch. I know this is a bit far away from you, but I just want to give you an example. One that I call a gourmand's working lunch, where you kind of pull from things you've made throughout the week. And then I have the Hungarian snacking tray. And the reason that it's called that, my husband actually is a maker as well. He's Andras Gipp of Hudson Workshop, and I'm going to show you some of his cheese boards and furniture. But in Hungary, where he's from, when we go there, there's not this fussy formal entertaining that we do sometimes in the United States. And it's just like a lot of times in France. I was living in Paris in my early 20s, and I remember my roommate at the time, who was Norwegian but had lived in Paris for a long time, invited a bunch of people over at the last minute. And I was in culinary school at the time, and I was like, I don't have any time to prepare beautiful souffle or this, that, and the other. And he's like, oh, no, you'll see. It's fine. We don't have to prepare. You run to the cheese shop, I'll run to the bread shop. And everybody showed up with charcuterie and wine and whatever. And that was, 20 years ago. But I really learned that we don't have to make entertaining so formal. And so I know that most of you probably already do this at home, but I want to show you some of the tricks, both food styling and prop styling tricks that I use as a cookbook author and as a TV show host and many other things that I do. I do food styling for both my own books and sometimes for other projects. I'll show you how I do it, some ideas, and then if we have time, I'll show you a little bit of my process and my space beyond my kitchen where I do shoot for my cookbooks and things like that. I'll show you some of my props, and some of them are makers that you can find at Field and Supply, and some of them might be new to you that you want to learn about. So I just want to talk generally that a grazing platter, in my opinion, doesn't always have to be a cheese board. Cheese boards, let's see if we have any questions before I go any further. Oh, awesome. Great questions. Oh, my hat. Okay. My hat is actually from Mexico. I wear this every single day, and everybody always asks me about it. But I can't tell you where to get it because I got it in Mexico and literally just put it on every day. I garden right outside my kitchen window. Actually, I'll show you a teeny tiny bit just for atmosphere. It's a bit of a mess over there because that's where I'm doing my prep. Out those windows, you can see our neighbor's barn, and then further out is our barn. That's my husband's workshop, and up in the top, we're building a studio for me as we speak. So I'm really connected with nature here, which I love. So I'll answer a few more questions in a bit. I just wanted to say that grazing boards to me don't always have to be a cheese platter. Cheese is expensive, it goes bad easily, depending on where you live. It may be hard to get something kind of impressive that you feel is worthy of putting out for your guests. So I'm going to show you 2 cheese boards or 2 grazing platters just using only 3 pieces of cheese. I've learned this over the years because I do lots of big scale entertaining, charity dinners, as well as small like gatherings, as well as lots of classes, as well as, you know, private entertaining in my home. And the thing that usually gets thrown out at the end of the night are these expensive blocks of cheese that people have been chopping off of, and you can't necessarily reuse them. So what I do is a lot of accoutrement with my cheese. So today I've chosen a Triple Crown soft rind. It's like a brie style, but a little bit more specialty. You can find it's like Camembert as well, but you can also you can look for some of these are French and some are Italian that I really love. These are usually cow's milk based. One that I really love is called Roblechon, which is usually square and a little bit more orange. But you just want something really soft. And this has been sitting out for about 2 hours to temper. Because you really, you know, I grew up in the Midwest, and brie cheese was kind of really big and brand new when I was probably in my teens, and people would serve it brick cold out of the fridge, and it's just like rubber. So I didn't really understand what all the fuss is about, but really it's meant to ripen. So you can see there's a spring back here on that. And when we cut into it, you'll see a little bit more. So one thing that I might do is keep it in its paper, because it's kind of beautiful, right? This is like its own prop, and you can crinkle it. So let's just set that to the side. We're going to start with our cheeses. And if you're having trouble seeing, I have to keep refreshing my screen. Do you ever serve your brie warm? Yeah, you can serve your brie warm. I'm not really a warm baked brie kind of person, but for the winter it is really a nice treat. So I'm going to show you actually these 3 cheeses. I always go for one that's kind of a sure win, one that's a bit of a showpiece, and I always do a Triple Crown because people love it. It's usually the first one to go. It's creamy, it's easy to cut gracefully and put onto your cracker, etc. So my kind of my Triple Crown is this. My sure win is actually an aged Parmesan, a 24-month aged Parmesan, because everybody loves Parmesan, and believe it or not, it's just, of course, it's great grated over things, but it's just wonderful to eat. My kids, it was one of my son's first food. I have a picture of him just gnawing on the rind when he didn't even have teeth yet, because it's salty, it's aged, it's also cow's milk, but if it's a good one, there's a 24-year or 24-month or longer. It's very crystalline, so the texture in your mouth is amazing. And then my showstopper is a blue cheese. Blue cheese can be kind of alienating, but you can often, even in a store that doesn't have a really good cheese section, you can often find a really beautiful, very nice blue cheese. It also just looks beautiful. So now that we have our cheeses ready, I hope you can see everything here. I'm going to do 2 cheese boards, and I'm going to ask you guys in a quick vote. Okay, so we're going to have a cheese board that's more vegetative, more vegetables, and one that's more fruits, because I don't like to do a ton of mixing of those 2 things. And then I'm going to show you some boards, and we're going to choose 2 boards to do together. So my husband, Andras, he is the founder of Hudson Workshop. He does mostly furniture, but he also does some cheese boards, often for me, but also for his customers. This is one of his. So I have this dark walnut board. I've got another style here, which is long and skinny, and I love, this is also Andras's. And I love something like this because you only need a little bit, and it doesn't get wasted. And then I've also got something that's just kind of a surprise hit that I found, which is a pizza peel. And it was very inexpensive, but it just has a really pretty shape. So a quick vote. I want you guys, and then I'll just start making so we can get through everybody's questions. I'll just start making and answering questions and kind of telling you what I'm doing. But you guys are all super smart, intuitive, creative people, and I know that you can follow a recipe and figure this out on your own. So I also want to get to your questions. So I'll be kind of making, answering questions, but I just need a quick vote. If you guys want to do a round, and of the long ones, do you want to do this one or a dark contrasty board? Do a quick vote for me, and we'll choose it. Yes, Brad, we do need these boards on Field Supply, totally. Yes, I love that. Brad had a good point that we do save our cheese rinds for soup. We use it to make Parmesan broth, to make cacio e pepe risotto, which is just like cheese and pepper risotto. We put it in minestrone, any kind of soup or broth we're making. I have a whole container, a big glass Tupperware that just says cheese rinds, and it's mostly Parmesan. There's a few other rinds you might save, but Parmesan is really the best for that. So walnut dark contrasting, yeah, I knew it. Okay, great. So we're gonna put this one to the side. And I have so many boards here. I'm always doing this. I just want to point out that if you don't have something like that at home, you can use like smaller platters. And the other thing that I often use, depending on who's coming, is sometimes I'll just do a platter, make a cheese board but on a platter. And this one's great because it has sloping sides. And you'll see when I'm styling that sloping sides as a food stylist, like slight sloping sides, give you something to work with. So we're going to do the dark contrasty board first. This is going to be our big hero board. So I am going to, can everybody see that board? I've got a lot going on here and I'll tell you all about it, but I don't want it to be too distracting for you. So we're going to go ahead and put the big triple chrome on here. And we are going to keep the paper because I think it looks pretty. And then it's going to give us somewhere to put our cheese knives, right? So I have some favorites. This is actually, I need to condition the handle, but this is just a classic. Opinel is my favorite French knife. It's a great picnic knife. I always used to carry one with me when I was traveling in Europe in my early 20s, and now you can't do that anymore. I got one taken away at the airport security. And then this is just a handmade wooden knife, which I love. So something like that is pretty because you obviously want to signal to your guests to dive right in. I want to just show you quickly, there's a new maker. Her name is Doris. Her work is called Lost Quarry, and I work with her a lot. She provided, and we collaborated on a whole bunch of pieces for my latest book, which is coming out in October. It's called Instant Family Meals. And I'll show you some of those pictures on my wall in a minute. But we worked together on finding vintage pieces that we like the shape of, and she made a whole bunch of beautiful pieces. And she's been at Field Supply once, and she'll be there again in the future. So you want to find vessels in your home to go on your board to kind of nestle things in. So I have all these beautiful rosewood bowls that Andra built for me. These are pretty special because if you love woodworking, I don't mean rosewood, Japanese maple. Japanese maple take years and years and years to grow. So out of one branch of this 40-year-old tree, he could only get about 20 bowls. So they're really special. So I like to use some of these, but again, I want contrast. You could do something bright and playful like that. I think something blue would be pretty on this board just for a pop. And we're gonna make this one more of our fruit board. So I've got these gorgeous grapes here. Believe it or not, of course, in the fall, you're gonna get Concord grapes and Niagara grapes and all these fresh grapes. And we actually have 5 or 6 grapevines growing outside. If we have time, I'll show you. But what I did do this morning is go and cut some of these down. So whether you're in a house, wherever you are in the country, or if you're in the city, whatever you have growing, anything you have growing can be used. So I've cut a little bit of grapevine here, which I think is just pretty and gives some texture to our board. You don't want to do it in a way that it's not practical. I tend to be not very practical. And then I've had these really abundant cheese boards where it's so gorgeous. Everyone's taking pictures of it, but they're kind of afraid to eat it. So you want to kind of bridge that gap between practicality and beauty. And you can decide, like, if this is a show-stopping moment and you're having a new client over and you want to just wow them, and you get the feeling that people aren't going to be like fully grazing because there's going to be a lot of heavy conversation and wine drinking or whatever, you can go for the more glorious, fancy cheese board with just little bits that people can nibble. But if you're having a family get-together, you obviously want people to be able to be fed while you're making the bigger part of the meal, or maybe this is the meal along with beautiful baguettes and a big salad. So you want people to be able to dive right in. So this one is going to be our more gorgeous one, and then we'll do a more practical one there. So I don't want to get too busy with too many more other things. Other things I did cut from outside are some blackberry. Of course, you don't want to sacrifice things that will ripen and that you're going to want to eat later, but just a tiny bit of something. Or this is lemon verbena, which is an herb that I love to grow. This is a bit of raspberry branch where no raspberries were on it, so I wasn't sacrificing our actual fruit harvest for this season, but I just get this beautiful kind of feathery look. So you can see what you have in your yard, or maybe you just have a basil bush, or maybe you have some potted herbs on your windowsill. You can just grab a little bit of greenery. I just think it makes it look really beautiful and fresh. So for this one, I'm going to use about half of the Parmesan. And with Parmesan, there's a special kind of knife you can use, but what I like to do is just, you don't want to cut on your beautiful boards. If it's a serving board, don't cut on it because you don't want knife marks. So I'm going to work over here. But you can just push straight down into your cheese and kind of break it. And what I'm going to do here, instead of having necessarily one big clump that everybody has to break off of, I'm going to have some little pieces. Here with my grape. This would be a board for maybe like 2 couples. This would be like 4 people. I'm going to close this since it's makes it very busy here. Because I really want you guys to be able to see what I'm doing. So then I might want to do honeys, olives, nuts, anything like that. Pistachios are fantastic for cheese boards. They look beautiful. They keep people busy. And you want to just let things spill around. Okay, you don't want it to be too perfect and too precious. Again, in the time of COVID, this is not necessarily the way we're eating when we are social gathering, like in a safe distance way. You kind of want people to have their own individual portion unless you're very intimate or you're like in a little pod together, because obviously there's a lot of touching and going back. But I still think it's a good skill to have because we won't be in the time of COVID forever. Okay, I'm going to check in for questions really quick. Sorry, my screen went off. I don't have a trusty assistant today. Okay, let's see. Okay, no questions. Oh my gosh, Brad, you're so funny. Okay, so I want to show you a quick trick with nuts. So I'm just going to toast a few nuts. You can buy these really expensive, like flavored nut mixes, but they're so easy to make at home. You can do a sweet one by adding maple syrup, brown sugar, and a pinch of cayenne. I'm going to do a savory one today. I keep all of my pantry in jars like this. So I have nuts, like 10 different kinds of nuts. I have all my seeds and grains, my rices, my flours, my cornmeal. They're all, so I have these drawers like this instead of a pantry. I don't know if you can see that, but you pull it out and everything's there. It just helps me to know what I have, what I'm running out of, and then always have kind of things in my back pocket. So I'm just going to put a little bit of olive oil. And I'm going to just toast these nuts. You can toast almonds and bigger nuts in the oven as well. But of course, I just want a little bit for my cheese platter. So I'm just toasting there. And then I'm going to take a coarse sea salt. This is actually a Sicilian sea salt by this company called Buona Fortuna, which I love. They have beautiful packaging. Their pasta packaging is so pretty. I'm going to put a little bit of sea salt. And then let's say you have rosemary or anything fresh. I actually ran out of time to go get my rosemary pots. They're all on the patio. But you could put something like that in there. And basically, you're just toasting them very lightly. Because you want whatever goes on your cheese platter or your grazing board to be just super premium and super appetizing. Super appetizing. So I'm just going to let that go a bit more. And meanwhile, we're going to dive into cherry season here. We've got some beautiful cherries we can put on this board. And I'm going to come and show you this up close as well. This is kind of, again, the more beautiful, less practical one. There was something important that I wanted to put. Oh, olives. So my favorite olives are Castelvetranos, and you can get them in the deli section, but I noticed most of the deli sections are closed now. But this brand, it's been in the fridge, that's why it's kind of weeping a bit, is so good. And they are, they're jarred, but they're not, they don't taste like normal jarred olives. So I always put a few olives on there. You're just going to drain off the liquid. And then a good trick to remember that when you see food in a cookbook or anything like that that's so beautiful, it's been food styled. It wasn't just, it has that extra glam and that extra appeal because the person who was making it really knew how to do that. So I'll just show you 2 tricks that you can do at home. This is just a spritzer bottle that I've cleaned out. For years I've been using the same one. It's just water. So you can spritz your grapes, your grape leaves, your fruit. Avoid the cheese, but just like right before people come, And of course, you can always put a little bit of olive oil on things like if, let's say you put this out and your guests are coming for 20 minutes, you can just freshen everything up before they come and or put a little damp paper towel over the portions that will get compromised. So this is a very, very simple board. I've left a little bowl here for people to put their pits in. I'm going to bring it closer to you to show you. It's something you kind of almost need to see overhead, but I just want to show you what it looks like. So that's a beauty. We're going to put that off to the side. And we're going to do the next one while we work on our questions. So people were asking questions about career stuff. So let me go back to those questions really quick so we don't run out of time. So let's see, you said, where did my passion for cooking begin? Okay, so I'll tell you about that while I'm doing the second board. So we're going to do this really inexpensive bread peel because I think it's just fun for you to see how gorgeous we can make it. We're going to put some copa. This is a really yummy pork that's Italian style. It's got a good marbling of fat. And you just want to do like a few layers of that. And I'm going to do some prosciutto as well. And then we're going to check on our nuts here. Lots going on here. You should know that my kitchen and my house is, we don't have central air. So this is like a little country cottage. And it is very warm in here. So we're going to put some of these gorgeous fruit things on here as well, but we're going to make this one a little bit more vegetative. So I think it would be gorgeous to have this beautiful handmade dish by Lost Quarry with these sun gold tomatoes, which are just very delicate and delicious. And having things cascade off is always so fun, I think, onto the floor as well. It just gives people a feeling of casualness and an invitation to just not be so worried about messing things up. I always like to try to buy things that still have their leaves on them. The grocers think I'm crazy because I'll go there and I'll say, oh, this is for a photo shoot. Can I pack it myself? You know, they're always like, okay, lady. But you can even do that when you're just having guests. If you want everything to be super beautiful, just be a little bit particular and that's fine. So as you can see, these are super simple cheese boards, but I think we're getting a lot of impact by just using a few special ingredients. These are two of my favorite kinds of crackers. I just wanted to show you really quick. Especially love this one, Fire Hook sea salt crackers. I try not to do anything too alienating. And something that all ages will like. And, you know, obviously if you have a gluten-free friend, sometimes I'll put like a little glass like this. And I'll delineate that these are the gluten-free crackers, so it's very clear. And I might stack them up like that. And you can do the same thing, again, with sliced cucumbers in spears and put them up. Again, it doesn't have to be all cheese and crackers or meat. It can be, you can do tons of heavy on the veg. There's just so many ways to go with this. Okay, so I'm going to keep this one a bit more airy, imagining that, let's say, this was the platter where we were serving, and I'm actually going to have some nuts in a bowl to the side. Let's take these nuts out. I've got some funny... This is Sunday, so I don't have a helper today, and I sent my husband out with kids. Normally, Brett, my 9-year-old, is a fantastic helper. I would say, like, grab me my cloth or things like that. So I don't have her today. So we're just going on the fly. Okay, so you want to put some salt on that because a little bit of salt goes a long way, and it just is really what makes everything taste good. Okay, so I'm answering a few questions. And I want to make sure we get to it. So when did your passion for cooking begin? Any other questions? That's a great question. So my passion for cooking began, actually my mom was a wonderful cook, very basic, kind of Midwestern style. She would always do like pork chops and mashed potatoes and corn on the cob. Very simple, very healthy, very, wholesome, delicious food. My grandmother was a fantastic, kind of renowned in her area, cobbler and pie baker. She would make, my dad was one of 6 kids, he's the youngest, so I'm one of the youngest of like 28 cousins and second cousins, and when we would all gather, there would be a huge table, and the entire table was filled with food. I don't even know how we sat down with our plates. And it was always family style, it was always passed, And there was never not enough, which is interesting. Her philosophy was just make room for more. There's always room for one more at the table, which I think is especially important right now. That we embody that philosophy, because that's how we really connect with people and learn. And so I loved cooking with her, but because these people were cooking such beautiful meals and I didn't really have the need, I didn't really begin cooking myself until I went to study abroad. I went to study abroad in Ireland. Ireland does have wonderful food, and it does have an incredible farm culture. And I recognized very early in my time there that their cheesemakers and their artisans were phenomenal. But at the time, I had been reading Saveur magazine and things like that. Everyone was obsessed with Italy and France, and maybe a little bit of interest in Vietnam and Asia. And so Ireland wasn't known for its food, and certainly Dublin wasn't as developed as it is now. And so I really felt like, the food was delicious, but a bit monotonous. And I was on my own for my first time living in a flat there with a Swiss girl, a Spanish girl, and an Irish girl, and me. So we started cooking for each other. We would make each other our favorites from home, and that was really eye-opening. And then from there, I moved to New York City, and that was really it. That was the clincher for me. I was an assistant photo editor first at Glamour magazine, and then at Oprah magazine. Those were my first two jobs out of college. My degree is in journalism and photojournalism. So my first two magazine jobs were in kind of women's service magazines. However, New York City was booming at the time. It was the very beginning of all the big, flashy restaurants that were not, haute French cuisine, but were accessible to younger people. And as a team, my photo editing team and I, we were all just totally passionate about food. And so we would spend all of our teeny tiny income. We made like $20,000 a year. We would spend all of it to go out to great restaurants for each other's birthdays. And every month we would go to a new restaurant and we would try like half the menu. And then when it came to order dessert, the joke was always like, there were 4 of us, and then we would order 5 desserts, and the next time we would order 6 desserts, and then eventually we would just say, bring a whole dessert menu. And that was where all of our income went, but I learned so much, and then I got interested in going to culinary school. So I did go to culinary school. I interned in France at a chateau with a food stylist who was American, teaching, had been doing a ton of food styling for Food and Wine back when it was kind of the premier. Gourmet and Food and Wine were kind of the premier food magazines. And then I went and I was a private chef for 2 summers in Saint-Tropez, and that was just a phenomenal life experience because I had these big budgets and I could just try anything, duck pastrami or, floating island desserts, just make whatever. And I was super young and I had no kids and I could just spend all my time learning. So obviously I've simplified quite a bit, both in my philosophies that I share in my books and also the way I actually cook for friends and family because I have 2 kids. We run 2 small businesses from our home and our property. But I think it doesn't have to be complicated to serve a great meal and have fun with your friends. So this one is also very simple. I kept a lot of white space here. And I know a lot of people actually pack them to the gills, but I kind of like a little bit of white space. It looks better from overhead. It's hard to show you. But I want to make sure we have time. We have about a minute left. If anyone's interested, I'm more than happy to show you how I keep my props and things. I'm just going to look for what's my go-to favorite meal. My go-to quick favorite meal, you know what I do? I take a big pan and I put fish. My husband's pescatarian and my daughter is as well. I eat a little bit of meat, and my son's kind of in between. So I will just take white fish and I'll take a smaller version of these, tomatoes, salt, pepper, green olives or black olives, maybe a little pimenton or any kind of herbs that you have, and roast it all together in the oven. And it's just so quick and easy, and it's beautiful and delicious. So I'm just going to show you guys quick questions about my studio. I'll show you. This is, again, it's not completely prepared for visitors since it's COVID and we haven't been having a lot. This is the dining room, which also became the school classroom. But I just want to show you that, this kind of work does encompass and kind of gets in your whole house. So this is where I keep a lot of my props. A lot of them are here. in this a lot of the more fragile ones are here in this cabinet. And since I'm always shooting and always developing new recipes, even though this is the family dining room, of course, if we had guests, we'd put this all away. But this kind of table is always sitting there. I have natural light flooding and I can see what everything looks like. And then once I shoot, it all goes on my wall here. And this is exactly why my office, which is in another room, and including the props, including all of this that you just saw, is all getting moved out to the barn so that it's one-stop shopping and it doesn't have to be all over the family's space at all times. Sorry, I'm a bit crooked. So I want to answer any other questions or show you anything else you were hoping to see. Let's see. Yes, I know it's really hard. There's so much to talk about, and it's such a short period of time, but you can reach out to me anytime. My website is edibleliving.com, so www.edibleliving.com. My blog, which has a lot of beautiful, similar, simple recipes, is edibleliving.com/journal. And then again, my book, Everyday Saturday, is available. It's actually available kind of everywhere, but it's on sale right now. There's a great deal on Amazon. You can get it. You can get it at Field and Supply. And I hope you guys. Let's see. Oh, new projects coming up. So my new book. Oh, two really important projects. I just launched a show with the Food Network called Everyday Saturday. It's the show version, a bit of my book, but also our whole lifestyle, our whole philosophy. Maybe I can give the link to Chad and Brad to put up for you guys because it's really fun. There's 6 episodes doing really classic, my twist on just like easy, entertaining recipes or easy to serve for your family, like a really yummy green sauce. It's a bit of a cross between a pesto and a chimichurri that I put on everything. My chocolate chip cookies for modern times, which are phenomenal and super fast and easy. You can make them gluten-free. They're low in sugar, high in chocolate, and really gooey. So a lot of recipes like that. A quick, wonderful steak on the grill, and my magic pork shoulder, which you make into wonderful tacos with a really fabulous tomatillo sauce. So that just launched on the Food Network Cooking app. It just launched last week. So on my Instagram, which is @edibleliving, you will be able to see both the preview, the sizzle of the whole show, and then week by week I'll be showing you. This week's episode is called Moroccan Tomato Toast. And it's using all the wonderful in-season produce right now, spiced in a certain way that just makes it so delicious. It's something that we eat a lot this time of year. So let's see. My other big project coming out is in the fall. I have a new book called Instant Family Meals. It's with Clarkson Potter. And it's going to be out October 27th, but you can pre-order it now on Amazon. So if you go to Amazon or any of the big sites, or if you obviously we want you to be buying from local sources if you can. Rough Draft here in Kingston area has all my books. Anyway, it's coming out in the fall, and that is actually the same style of beautiful food that is in my previous 3 books, but made in an Instant Pot, which I think for this time in life that we're living with madness and kids at home and we're working from home has really been a big helper for me. So look for those 2 things, Everyday Saturday, the show, and Instant Family Meals. And then this one is still pretty new and really where all of my best family recipes are. And then please watch The Other Lives today. There's so many great makers, jewelers, ceramicists, just so many people to learn from. And this community I love because it's so warm and open and we all want to help each other. And if you're interested in what I do as a career, you can absolutely reach out to me anytime. Just DM me on Instagram and we'll connect. So thanks so much for being here and have a great day.